You're listening to Level Up with Wondr, a podcast where we take listeners on a journey through the exciting world of gaming, tech, and innovation. Join the Wondr Nation team as we talk with a diverse group of pros who have taken their skills to the next level.
Opinions and statements of participants are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of IGT. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Level Up with Wondr. My name is Jordan. I'm a digital marketing specialist at Wondr Nation. June is Pride Month, and in Observation, we're highlighting two leaders who are helping to create more inclusive spaces in the gaming industry. Today, I'm joined by Brooke Thomas and Matt Heenan, founders of LGBTQ+ in gaming, a community for LGBTQ+ professionals and allies in gaming to connect, share experiences, and build a future embracing authenticity and diversity. Brooke, Matt, welcome to Level Up with Wondr. We're so excited to have you both here. So let's start by discussing your backgrounds. How did you get started in the gaming industry and what do you do today?
Great.
Brooke.
I'll kick it off. Thanks, Matt. I started my career in this industry as a civil rights attorney and culture and inclusion consultant. Started working with clients in gaming, hospitality, entertainment, and really just fell in love with the industry. And the gift, of course, being a consultant is you experience so many different industries, right? And you really get to choose the cultures you want to focus on and where you want to really find your forever home. And I found that in this industry. It's been incredible. When Seminole Hard Rock called in 2021, I obviously picked up the phone, and I've been there ever since as their vice president of people, equity, and inclusion. Matt?
Yeah, I started when I was a teenager, actually. So my dad worked for Caesar's Palace as an operational engineer for 27 years. So my summer jobs were changing air filters in the tower. And I had a hard hat and a sledgehammer and steel-toed boots one summer where I'm literally knocking down walls. And I remember seeing three people in suits walk through, and I was like, you know what? I would rather be doing that. So after college, I came back to Las Vegas and I started working in VIP, and I worked my way up. When I left Caesars in 2022, I was the director of loyalty and I oversaw financial products. I took a little break out of gaming and then came back and have been working at IGT for about 2.5 years as customer success manager. So really, I get to bring a lot of that gaming knowledge with relationship building and problem solving and a lot of strategic execution. So now I get to work with Caesars as a client and Brooke as a client and a ton of other great gaming operators.
So for either of you, was there a specific moment in your professional career that kind of sparked an interest in diversity and inclusion efforts?
I'll speak first. I think when we think about the concept of inclusion, and really the word diversity to me, it just means differences, right? We in all industries know the power of differences, but nowhere do I think we know that more than in our industry, even within our guests and all the variety of needs they have, from their cultural nuances to the cultural intelligence we know we need to bring from the front desk to the gaming floor and everywhere in between. We see the value of different perspectives and we know what drives innovation. For me, I felt very lucky that I've had environments where I can be out and proud as a queer woman, but I know that's not common in any industry and in many environments. So for me, it really is something where it's kind of like the red car syndrome, right? Once you buy a red car, you see it everywhere. I don't really see inclusion work as this like separate thing. It's part of who we are as an industry, that we value the differences and we know they make us stronger.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if it was maybe one single moment or a series of moments. I would say people don't always feel safe bringing their whole selves to work, being their authentic selves. So for a lot of gay people, it shows up in subtle ways, maybe thinking twice before saying, oh, I have a husband or my partner, deciding whether it's safe to correct someone who maybe makes an assumption about your pronouns. It can be wondering whether visibility will create an opportunity or a risk. So I think seeing those experiences or people struggle with that is what ignited that for me. And then I guess we could talk about how we founded the group. I'm sorry, Jordan. I'm taking over. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's fine. That was honestly going to be my next question. I want to go a little bit deeper into LGBTQ+ in gaming. We can talk about the roles that you guys have in the organization and maybe what was the initial vision.
Yeah, I'm happy to kick that off. One of the first conversations I had when I started thinking about the gap in the industry for a group like this, an international organization for LGBTQ professionals in the gaming industry, to come together and really leave the community better than when you found it, whatever that means. And what we discovered in initial conversations was the loneliness and isolation many of us feel in this industry. And I think it's just difficult because sometimes we're the one and only on the team, the one and only out, maybe the one and only not out, feeling that. So it was really an opportunity to bring folks together, certainly network and connection, but also community and philanthropy. I met Matt at a networking event, and he just immediately sparked something in me. We were at an LGBTQ allyship discussion, actually, led by and moderated by an ally. And Matt was like, yeah, let's do something. And when I approached AGA, I just have to give an absolute shout out to American Gaming Association. I approached them the year before last at the end of the year, and they just didn't even hesitate. Building on the beautiful foundation of African Americans in gaming, which is just an incredible, to me, a legacy org of excellence that I hold this organization to and strive to be. But AGA just came out of the woodwork. They said, whatever you need, we will partner with you, because they also understand LGBTQ team members and guests are out there. We're looking for community, we're looking for connection, we're looking for growth, and they really fostered the environment to do that.
Absolutely incredible. They've been such a huge part, and we just don't want this to be a symbolic group. We really want to be a resource to the community. We want to connect people. We want to be a platform for real conversations. And AGA has helped us do that. We've done events, we've done webinars, we've done our first industry activation event a few months ago in Atlantic City. So we got to actually go out and meet other LGBTQ plus professionals and allies and just make those connections. We partner with local LGBTQ plus organizations. We've done some educational programming. The last 2 years, we had 2 great webinars that we were able to do. The AGA helped us put that together and really gave us that platform to deliver the message to our family members and our allies.
That's awesome. So if you think about the gaming industry currently, what do you think are the biggest challenges that you face regarding inclusion?
I would say there's a lot of organizations that are comfortable celebrating Pride, using the rainbow branding, and that visibility matters in the month of June. But you know what? We're LGBTQ plus throughout the whole year. I think this group, one of the challenges is just saying we're here, we're visible, not just in June, but all the time. And also talking about other important things like inclusive benefits. What does it mean to have an LGBTQ person on your team? Are you respecting pronouns? Thinking about, how are you supporting local LGBTQ communities, not just in June, but throughout the year?
I love that. Yeah, I always say I'm gay on July 1st too. And again, I just want to point out, we have so many affinities, right? And we have so many identities, and that's beautiful. We're actually in Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month right now. So that's beautiful and what incredible thing. So we don't want to make every month Pride Month, but I think it's just a reminder that even as we spotlight any community, it's a reminder that sometimes those struggles pop up at different times. And we're lucky enough as an LGBTQ plus community, I think, to have a lot of days throughout the year. And we have certainly days of grieving and honoring with things like the Trans Day of Remembrance. We also have things like Spirit Day to celebrate our LGBTQ youth, and Trans Day of Visibility to celebrate our trans siblings who are out and proud if they feel safe enough to share that. So I think there's a real gift to that. One of the best parts of this group of LGBTQ in gaming is seeing and hearing from the allies who really just want to reach out and ask, what can I do? What should I do? I just want to welcome that anytime. I think there's a fear right now in our culture, especially in our country, of just saying the wrong thing. And that's real. I know it can be difficult, but ask the question. If you're leading with good intention and curiosity, there's very few questions I won't answer, right? And I think Matt's the same. And that's the type of community we create at LGBTQ plus in gaming, where we say, hey, join us, ask the question, get curious. That's the space we want to create. And then, of course, just because you're part of the community doesn't mean you know everything. I learn something about our community every time I get on a webinar, every time I get on a call. It's just so rich and robust with different experiences. So we do not speak for the community, Matt or I individually, but really as a cohort, we like to come together and bring that cacophony of voices together to build a beautiful choir.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you said, I think it's very easy to just slap on a rainbow logo in June and then call it a day. But I think like those organizations that are taking that extra step to build things into their actual programs is where you can find those communities. So I know you talked a little bit about some of the webinars and things you did. Do you have any other recent initiatives or successes that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I had mentioned that we'd done the activation event in Atlantic City. Last year, we did 2 webinars. We had great attendance and really important topics, I think. In December, we did from allyship to advocacy and really spotlighting 2 allies in our gaming network and how they're supporting LGBTQ plus and how they're not just showing up as an ally and saying, oh, my cousin's gay or something like that, but really advocating for them and really doing the work to really spotlight these people that are important in their life, and whether they're an employee or a family member or something. Last year, we were a little more localized within Vegas. And so in 2026, we want to take it on the road and go out to the markets and meet the members that we see on the LinkedIn page and really build that community in person with them. So our goal this year is to add a couple more activation events. We're actually going to be at SBC America Summit in June. So we'll be doing an event there we're super excited for. It'll be our first time partnering with them. Of course, we're doing G2E again this year. The UGA is a great partner to us, so we'll be there, hopefully with AAG and a couple other really great groups.
Absolutely. And one of the components we pride ourselves on as an organization, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, is the philanthropic aspect. And what we do like to engage in is partnership with local nonprofits and 501c3s in whatever region we're going to be at, because these LGBTQ organizations that are citywide, regional, even statewide, are doing such incredible work to keep our community safe, to keep our community connected, to keep our community not just surviving, but thriving. And while I love the idea of maybe having a big check to write someday, so putting it out there, if there's any really amazing angel investors, it's also about exposure to understanding that these organizations are in your community. So if it's highlighting the LGBTQ Center in Las Vegas, AC Pride in Atlantic City, we have so many opportunities to give exposure and connection so that, hey, the next time you're in Las Vegas and your team needs an activity or a volunteer day, you think of the center. He's doing amazing work. And for the record, they're doing amazing work for the Las Vegas community. They don't check your identity or sexual orientation at the door, right? They are helping the community with medical, dental, food assistance, everything you can imagine. And they're amazing. So we know so many organizations in our communities that serve our community don't just serve LGBTQ members, they serve so many more. And that's a really important aspect we always want to highlight, because we know for many of us in the community who are also in this industry, we might be the one person in our friend group who is doing really well and can support and give back. We know our community right now is struggling. We know there's a lot happening in the world and in the country. So it's a really great opportunity to make those connections and also support the nonprofits that frankly get up and do work that I can't imagine doing every day. It's really tireless. And we're so grateful for all those little LGBTQ orgs who make it happen.
And it's so great that you guys have been able to grow the group so much. And that kind of leads me into my next question is, where do you see the group in the future? Is it national, global?
Yeah, Matt, take it. Where are we going next?
Oh, man. So like I mentioned, we're going on the road in 2026, 2027, we're going on the road international, right? We've already identified a couple of places with international organizations that we really want to put our presence out there. Yeah, continue to grow the group, continue to spotlight these amazing organizations that Brooke had mentioned, being a resource to our community, partnering with local ERGs at these gaming companies as well, as that's a big initiative for us as well. Making those connections and saying, hey, here's something that this group is doing that's really great and positive. Share it with your organization. If there's job opportunities, connecting those, hey, we've got some really great LGBTQ plus candidates that we would love to highlight for those roles. We started small. We're, I think, over 300 members now in the LinkedIn group, with more and more every day. So we're just continuing to build up and onwards. And yeah, as Brooke mentioned, any angel investors out there, we're happy for you.
Don't cut that in the podcast. We need it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Right now we've got stickers. Someday we'd like to have more.
Stickers and hats.
Yeah. And hats.
It's so good. You guys want to keep them on for the rest of the...
I do. Yeah, I'm going to keep mine on.
Yeah.
I think that the work that you guys are doing is so great. And I think it's so important to be providing that community for people. So in your opinion, what makes a great ally, and how does good allyship look for the LGBTQ plus community?
I think allyship for all communities looks really similar, which is coming in with an open mind and not making any assumptions. I can't tell you how many times I've had the conversation colleagues or whatever. Oh, your husband's a lucky guy. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yes, Natalie is a lucky guy. It's tough. But again, there's that micro decision of, do I have the energy to educate? Do I want to educate? Will I lose my job if I educate? How am I going to put it in a nice tone? It's okay to make a mistake, right? So if someone corrects you on their pronouns, that's so hard, right? We know gender in our culture, it's so rigid in how we present. And you look at me and you go, makeup, long hair girl. Just so happens my pronouns are she, her, and that works out and that matches with our brains. But if you mess up a pronoun and someone corrects you, the best way to be an ally is to take the feedback. And that's also leadership, right? We talk about that all the time. The true leaders, they can take feedback, implement it with humility. So be open-minded, pause before making those assumptions, and let me just be the first one if no one's told you yet. Everybody messes things up every now and again. Moving with grace with one another is really crucial. Don't be too hard on yourself. When you make a mistake, you learn from it and you move on.
That's absolutely right. I was going to say good allyship starts with humility. It means understanding you don't know everything, but you're willing to learn. Like Brooke said, respecting pronouns, challenging people that say harmful comments, and really making space for LGBTQ voices without speaking over them. I think trying to be consistent is really great, but yeah, willing to learn, listen, and act. And even when it's not convenient and visible, I think that's really what great allyship looks like.
Yeah, I agree. And so there's also an extra step above allyship with advocacy. So could you talk a little bit about what do you think the difference is and what makes a good advocate?
I think it starts with the community. Advocates really are breaking down those barriers for the community. It does require a higher level of commitment. It's not just using your voice, but you're really challenging policies. You're proposing changes. You're funding initiatives that support the LGBTQ plus community. So it's not just I support you, it's I'm willing to help change the system so that you're not alone doing this. To me, that's the big difference between allyship. We love our allies. We love them to become advocates for the community.
I love that, Matt. I've never really heard you put it like that. I think you just hit it that it's a range, right? There's days I am an absolute ally, and there's days I absolutely miss. And there's days I really step into my advocacy, right? And this is a marathon, not a sprint. I think in this world of instant gratification, now more than ever, it's a reminder that the individual gives space and patience for learning and step into those moments of advocacy and also know when maybe it's time to be just an ally. So take those opportunities, seize them. And if you miss one, self-reflect and say, was it a bandwidth issue or was I just not in the space to be brave? That's okay. You'll have other opportunities. And I think this is the invitation for those who are interested. Maybe that LGBTQ in gaming is your opportunity. And we'd love to have you join us.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else in our lives, really. Like when it comes to navigating relationships, it's not going to be perfect. And you always just have things to learn from everybody.
Absolutely.
Totally.
This is coming out in the month of June, which is Pride Month, as I said at the top of the podcast. Are you looking forward to anything specific this Pride Month?
So we have two great events coming up with LGBTQ plus in gaming for Pride Month. We've got two great committees that we have developed, an engagement committee and an education committee, and they're working really hard to put this great program together where we actually talk about Pride Month and talk about the rainbow flag as a symbol and building beyond the symbol. Having the rainbow flag is great. We love it. We love the visibility, but really doing the additional work during Pride Month.
I love that. You answered from an organizational perspective what we're doing for Pride Month, Matt, and I love that. So I'm just going to come out. Jordan, we're all in a million closets. I'm here to tell you, I don't like parades. I'm a terrible queer woman. Okay. I'm terrible at crowds. I get tired. I get dehydrated. My feet hurt. But let me tell you what, when June comes around, I get my giant water bottle and I go out and I go to so many of our local prides here. And I have the opportunity to represent either my company or just go out with my wife and walk around and experience what is true joy. If you ever have an opportunity to go to any sort of LGBTQ event where people are gathering in person, you will see that joy. And it's unlike anything you can really experience virtually. So many organizations have events for their ERGs or mixers. If you're at an organization and you say, hey, do we have anything for Pride? No. Okay, let me just host a networking hour or a coffee clutch. It doesn't have to be something massive, but small acts of community build so much trust and resilience. And that's so crucial right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. I know we already touched on this earlier, but I just wanted to give you guys a chance to expand on it if you wanted. So what can companies do beyond Pride Month to ensure they're building safe, inclusive spaces for their employees?
Gosh, there's so many things they can do. I think we've highlighted a bunch over a couple webinars, but just high level, making sure your LGBTQ employees are visible, making sure that there's leadership participation, not just putting up rainbow decorations or social media posts, but really focusing on the community, being a partner to the LGBTQ community, whether that's celebrating your employees or working with a local organization. I think that is really what makes Pride become more meaningful, is when it's not just a performative post. It really is celebration, but education and impact as well.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I think every organization and team is different. And I would challenge those who maybe are listening to this, go ask an LGBTQ member of your team. Our LGBTQ community in our organizations are often the best unofficial focus group. An ENG or BNG can be so helpful, a business network group or an employee resource group, because they're this mini focus group. Use them. For me, my queerness is a value add. I bring a different perspective. It's not a deterrent. And it's also not the center of everything, right? I bring so many more things, but this crucial component is really core to my identity. And it brings a lens and a perspective that you may not have thought of before. And we always talk about every single article on innovation. What do you need in the room for innovation? You need different opinions. And the same thing goes for this. What can we do for the community? I promise there's someone who knows right next to you in your office, in your virtual space. So I challenge you to show up with courage, step in, Jordan, as you said, from ally to advocate, and have that conversation. Ask. You'll be amazed. People want to share their stories. People want to share and help one another more than I think we sometimes realize.
I love that you said courage, because the history of Pride started as a protest. So really, courage, visibility, demanding safety and dignity in the community is how it all started. So like when you're thinking of this programming or doing some kind of Pride event, honor that history, create a space that's safe and joyful.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. This has been such a great conversation so far. We're getting towards the end, and we always like to end our episodes with what we call our level up advice, our tips on how to level up. So we've touched on this a little bit, but what are 3 ways leaders can level up to be more inclusive of members of the LGBTQ plus community?
Listen before leading, right? Listen to the community, talk to them. Brooke touched on that your LGBTQ employees are a great focus group. Listen to them, ask them, take their advice.
I love that. Never assume. I think the community is so unique in that way. I know I've shared with Matt, there's been people who have come up to me, and I joke around, I'm a little bit of the LGBTQ plus whisperer, right, at my org. I always have been. People come in my office, they come out of the closet, they leave, they go back in, right? I am a safe space for people, and I love that, and I'm so proud of that. But the flip side of that to leaders is you never know how someone identifies in a room. So just a reminder to our leaders, you never know who's listening. You never know who has a trans or non-binary sibling or an LGBTQ parent or child. You never know. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons even my family's learned. My sister herself is a huge advocate. And she says, people will say things to me because they don't know about you. And then the gift of being your sister is I get to share your story and say, hey, this is why you shouldn't say that. And this is how I know that. You never know who's carrying an identity they maybe don't feel comfortable sharing with you. And then maybe ask yourself why they haven't shared that with you. Maybe that's a good self-reflection and a moment for growth, because making people comfortable at an organization so you can drive innovation and progress is crucial for leadership.
We touched on this a little bit already, but really moving from the symbolic support of just posting the flag on Pride Month to really making structural changes in your organization. We talked a little about policies. Look at those policies. Are they inclusive to LGBTQ members? Look at the benefits packages that you're offering. Is there healthcare that a trans employee could be needing or seeking? And really having accountability to your team, being a good ally, forcing that advocacy, and being there for your community.
I agree. I think those were some great pieces of advice. So now we're wrapping up. I just wanted to say, Brooke and Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your insights, your passion. I'm glad that I got to learn about more of the work that you guys do. And it's really important and very cool that you're able to lift up the community in this way. So thank you again.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak about something that's so important, and kudos to you and your team for giving us the space to do it. This is how we make it happen, and we're so grateful.
We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Please follow us on LinkedIn, or you can just search LGBTQ plus in gaming. We've got a public page that you can find us. Please join us, learn more about your community. We share a lot of great resources. We've got a really great team that we're building and a great network. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see more of you guys.
Thank you for listening to Level Up with Wondr. Visit wondrnation.com/level up for more podcast episodes about how we're reimagining the gaming entertainment industry. Want to level up your business? Visit our contact page at wondrnation.com to inquire about our strategic consulting or management services.